urban and rural, healthy and sick, needed and needy, until our lives and this world really do meet their end. What are Christians for? Life together at the end of the world offers moving reminders of times and places and other parts of history that surely felt like the end of the world for those living in them, including those in the church. American slavery, South African apartheid, Nietzsche's existential Europe, and the horrors of the Great War, which would, of course, be followed by even greater horrors decades later. In fact, it was during this turn-of-the-century context when the Dutch theologian Herman Bavinck developed and articulated his influential idea of the Christian worldview, largely as a response to the insufficient, even false and dangerous worldviews prevailing in his own age and influencing the church of the time. This history, noted later in this book, reminds us that we who feel out of sorts in the world today are not alone. The peculiarity of this moment, Bavinck observed of his own moment, as aptly as it could be of our own, is that everyone feels an epoch of change, when all people realize they cannot remain the same, and that some long for this moment to pass by more swiftly than others. There is a disharmony between our thinking and feeling, between our willing and acting. The words remind us that while the specifics change according to time and circumstance, the calling of Christians remains the same. This is why the sections that follow in this book are oddly comforting. Jake Meador reminds us that the purpose of the Christian life never changes according to time, place, or station, even if we of particular places and perspectives have difficulty seeing and applying such a complete vision in whole. Our view is clouded by many things, most of these the consequences of the distortions of modernity. To be clear, every era has its own deceptions. Even Christians who believe in and live by the orthodox doctrines of the historic church can't help but be formed also by our larger cultural ethos, in which nature is reduced to matter, community is replaced by institutions, the soul is narrowed into a self, and the body becomes merely the sum of its parts. The idols of the world, indeed, the mere idols of modern America, have sometimes, even many times, become idols in the church. We are fools if we fail to recognize that even a Christian worldview based on unchanging eternal truths is not a clouded lens. What we need, in addition to clearer vision, is a greater sense of wholeness, a whole way of being, one that transcends the distortions of our time. A revived sense of ourselves as embodied creatures, bodies of particular times and places, who are nevertheless like all other human bodies, made in God's image and for a purpose, will help address nearly every crisis we face as a church and a civilization today. We, the church, are a body, and we each individually are bodies. Christians are a people called to submit to Jesus, both as individuals and as a body, and to others, and to steward the earth he created, and to serve well each body he knitted together. Persons cannot be whole alone, Wendell Berry observes in The Unsettling of America. If the body is healthy, then it is whole. But how can it be whole and yet be dependent, as it obviously is, upon other bodies and upon the earth, upon all the rest of creation, in fact? It immediately becomes clear that the health or wholeness of the body is a vast subject, and that to preserve it calls for a vast enterprise. Yes, it is a vast subject that calls for a vast enterprise. It is vaster than the universe, but not vaster than the creator and sustainer of that universe. Berry continues, if the soul is to live in this world only by denying the body, then its relation to worldly life becomes extremely simple and superficial. Too simple and superficial, in fact, to cope in any meaningful or useful way with the world. Simple and superficial, this book is not. In fact, there is so much wisdom, so much wholeness in these chapters, that to listen to them is to be left wondering how we have gone so far astray. Indeed, this book fills me with yearning. It sounds a bell.